Um, love seeing all these names. Um, thank you guys for joining us to learn a bit about how RaceOwl works. Um, some of the tricks, it's really pretty easy, but it is a little intimidating as most technology is to some of us when it's kind of your first time and you're getting used to it. So you're in good hands here with John, who has was not the initial designer of RaceOwl, but has been developing it and improving it for a long time. I'm not sure how many years ago that you started working on RaceOwl, John, but
Yeah, it's probably been, I want to say it was like 2016 or so. I mean, RaceOwl started in 2013, and then I was they got me when they wanted some apps, and so that's where I came in. So
okay.
I'm now the third person for RaceOwl.
Okay, cool. Well, real quick, I'm just going to share my screen for a second and show people, everyone here, like where you can find the asset on the website, the resource on the website that has a lot of the files that John's going to be referring to. Um, so this is the homepage of the mr340.org website, and up on top is the resources tab. Depending on the size of your screen, it might be one of those hamburger three-line menus that you have to go to first. But the resources tab, and you scroll down, and there are all of these different topics um, with tons of great information that you can go through. And hopefully you've been doing that already. But I know we have some newer registrants. So now the race tracking page. So one of those top two boxes, or on your phone, it might be the second box. There's a little table of contents where you can jump ahead to different topics, but it really starts out with a basic overview of the RaceOwl system, and then it goes through the two apps, and then the RaceOwl Racer, and then the RaceOwl app, and then a little bit about the website, including the link to this year's race. So that is the very basic place that you can find most information that you need in general. Obviously, there's also great information and training on the RaceOwl website itself, raceowl.com. Um, so one other thing I want to say before I turn this over to John is that in this webinar, you guys, okay, so somebody's mentioning that they're getting feedback. Dennis mentions that he's hearing feedback. Um, if anyone else can hop in the chat and let me know if the sound is really weird, we would like to know that.
There's also a question on a black screen, but I think I'm seeing you, so I'm assuming that's not the webinar.
Okay, one person. So Dennis thinks it's okay now. Cool. Good, good, good. Thanks, you guys.
And everyone's
Sounds like
seeing the
everything's
screen.
cool. So people are talking in the chat, and that's where we want you to put your questions. I'll be kind of paying attention to that, and I'll either be holding questions for John after he's done, or might be feeding questions at him throughout the talk. Um, and Alma mentioned that when I was sharing my screen, she was just seeing a black screen. So I'm sorry about that. But basically, to find that race tracking information, go to the resources tab on the MR340 website, and then look for the race tracking blue box, and that'll get you to all the resources you need. There's also a Q&A. Well, actually, I'm not seeing the Q&A on my screen, so maybe there isn't a Q&A. No, there
It's
is.
there. Yeah.
So there's also a Q&A option. So you can put your questions through chat or Q&A, and I'm gonna kind of step aside and let John take over. If there's anything you need from me, John, just ask.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. All right. So, apologies, first of all. Usually I have Colleen with me, my wife. She's way prettier and better spoken, so she usually speaks John well and can interpret me when I get off in a ramble mode. So, if I go rambling and start making no sense, someone stop me and we'll reset. Happens a lot, unfortunately. English as a second language is hard. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. And I've got a presentation, and then we'll spend some time with some apps and then answer a lot of questions, hopefully. Okay, so we've got two of these webinars going on. This one is meant for racers, and we've got another one coming up. I believe it's early July, maybe July 1st. That will be for ground crew. In a lot of ways, RaceOwl is almost it is at least as much for ground crew and spectators as it is for the racers themselves. So it's a lot of information. So it sometimes makes sense to split that up into two different sessions because there's different questions, different use cases to go over. This one being for racers, it's really talking about how do you play with the system, what do you get out of the system, what is the best way to get down the river safely, and using the system to your advantages. So RaceOwl in general, right? It's primarily a safety system, right? So we started off early on as kind of all texting and just where are the boats, right? We need to know where folks are. You've got 500 boats strewn across the state of Missouri. It is hard to track and hard to keep everyone safe. And so its primary mission is exactly that: where the boats are, where are they at, and is anyone lost? And it, it 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 happens every year. Someone's lost, someone loses them, they don't show up. And so a lot of it is behind the scenes. I think actually, Steve, would be a really good uh, um, speaker series would be the behind the scenes of the 340. That would be very interesting for folks to kind of see what goes on there as far as all the activities we do for safety boats and RaceOwl and everything else to keep folks safe. But RaceOwl in general is designed to figure out where are the boats? Where are you guys at? How far are you from a checkpoint? How far are you from ending? Um, and we do that via these checkpoints along the route, as well as by tracking, and tracking being those periodic GPS position updates that we send to the raceowl.com. There's also messaging, lots of messaging going on between participants and the race crew. These broadcast messages, we will send them out periodically. They are safety messages that, like there's a barge upstream, watch out, coming at you. There's storms coming in the area, etc. We will broadcast that to you as things change and things might be of interest that you need to know. And then there's the individual messages. That's where you can just text in to that 816-340-6395 line, and we try and man that 24/7. So there will be someone on the other side there listening for any texts and be able to answer you back and usually take care of, I'll say, minor emergencies, not major ones. If you're major, you're going to call Steve um, or the safety dispatch, but minor ones or informational things like that, you would be texting them in.
And I want
So
to mention that the safety card that everyone will get on Monday at Race Check-in will have that texting number on it. And we'll be sending that also in one of the next couple of dispatches.
yeah. One note on the broadcast messages, don't reply to that one. It will eventually get to us on the text line, but it's delayed. It's very slow. So if you really want to talk, be on this line here, not on the broadcast. So if you see something come through as broadcast, which says, type stop to end the message, something like that, don't reply to it. It'll be a while before we get to it. And then informational, right? This is really meant for the racer and the observers of the race. We give you lots of information as far as where you're at, when are you going to show up to the checkpoints and ramps. I'll say from the ground crew point of view, this is like they live by this. They want to know when you're going to show up, and I'll assert that RaceOwl is really, really good at figuring that out. So we know where you're going, we know your speed, we know when you're going to get there, and we can be really accurate on that, at least for the next one or two checkpoints. We provide a leaderboard, so who's in first, who's in second. Um, it's really accurate if you're tracking, not so much if you're just doing checkpoints, but we do the best we can with that. And it provides results in the race, as well as a ton of data and statistics that you can download. I don't know if you're a data person, you can analyze your race, figure out where you stopped, where you started, how fast you were going between different checkpoints, etc. That's all available for you. I'll say if there's any questions, feel free to interject with the question board, and we'll see if we can answer them while we're there. Okay, what we want to get tonight really is how to track, basic app usage as far as how to do check-in and check-outs and DNFs. So we're going to play with the RaceOwl Racer app a little bit, make sure you have the basic operations down so that if you, just to make sure that the basics of the race are covered, and that is the manual check-in and check-out. And then we'll talk about tracking and get into more advanced topics as we go. One note here, not every, I'll say, paddle stop is a checkpoint, right? So I'll just say right now, first day is kind of rough for RaceOwl, right? So what happens is we all take off from Caw, we travel down the river, and we get to Lexington, and we're all excited. We all start checking in. It is not a checkpoint. Don't check in at Lexington. What that does is it tends to say, oh, well, you're checking in, you must be in Waverly. So it tends to hyperspace you to Waverly, and then it messes everything up, and I get really grumbly, and I have to go fix stuff. So please do not check in at Lexington. Tell your ground crew, just chill. Don't do anything until Waverly.
And John, if I could just jump in too, if you are tracking using the app, then that won't even be an issue.
You're correct.
The app will wait until you get to Waverly and check you in if it's working properly.
Yep. Yep. Key point, if you track, you don't need to manually check in and out. We'll get into that a little bit later too. All right. Texting with a RaceOwl. Again, we talked about the number. We're monitoring it all the time. Non-emergency issues. That's what you want to talk to folks about then. There actually was a time in the mess in 2023 when everything spilled over into the RaceOwl text line as well. It was like yeah. Hopefully we don't get there ever again. That was a race. Okay, RaceOwl Racer. So this is the one you want as a racer. Do not download RaceOwl. RaceOwl is this blue one. That's for your ground crew. That's for people who are tracking you and seeing what the race is going, right? They're looking and see, who's winning, who's at what checkpoint, etc. This one is for you. It's the purple one, right? This is the one you want. And so that's what you want to download. There are some training guides here, but depending upon what you got. So if I go to, um, the website, there is overviews of each of the apps and how to use it. There is also on YouTube, there is a lot of videos there. I do need to update them. They're slightly out of date, but they're kind of close. But yeah, I'll get an update here in the next week or so. But one thing to be aware of is on RaceOwl itself. If you log into it, you'll see tools, info, and training. And here you have a lot of features as far as how to use the website and how to use each of the items that we're talking over tonight. There's training playlists. There's how to track with InReach and Spot, or how to go to the app, etc. So looking at iOS, Android, etc., all the apps are described here. Okay. So pay attention to that, especially if you're new. It definitely is helpful. And I will say, um, use it. Don't just wait. You're going to have it's going to work fine for you, but don't wait until the last day to try and set things up. It's really not going to work out very well for you. You got to have there's some hazards that you'll need to pay attention to, especially if you're using an app, right? That you don't want to just learn the day of, right? All right, let me go back to the webinar here. All right, let me see. There was a question out there. So is that text line through RaceOwl on the app? A text line is just using your normal texting. So that's not through the app at all. That's just using your text screen and that number. All right, checking in and out, DNF. So this is where we're going to go to on the app. And I think I'll hold off on doing too much information here because we're going to do this live here with everyone actually doing it themselves. But this is what the manual check-in and check-out screen looks like. Normally, I'm going to say you're going to use the app, the RaceOwl Racer app, to do this, right? If all else fails, there is still an option out there that you can just text in via any sort of texting app, and you enter it like this. You would put in like your boat number, your checkpoint, what day it is, and then the time and that you checked in, right? And that way, we've got that. It would look a lot like this: my boat, where you're checking in, the day, and then the time. I would highly recommend you not do this. This is where we get a whole lot of errors happening, especially having done this a few times. You get towards Herman, and all of a sudden, texting becomes really, really hard because you're so sleep deprived and just things don't work well anymore. So I would highly recommend, A, you don't even use this app to do this manual check-in. You're tracking. But if you are going to do this manual check-in, use the app. It's much less error prone than trying to actually type it in. Although Barbara, who is one of our volunteers for Barbara Hansen, who's one of our volunteers for the app line or the text line, actually loves it when people text in some weird stuff because she could probably write a book of all the interesting conversations she has with people as they attempt to text over time. Okay, so use the app, much better. This if you have to. Tracking. Okay, this is where we really, really want you to be. This is better from a safety point of view, and that's where we're sending those updates periodically about every 10 minutes to raceout.com, and you're showing up on the race map, right? By doing that, it really helps out the safety folks because we know where you're at, right? We can see you're there. We know we have an estimated position for you. It's much better to be able to clear the various different checkpoints as you come in. One of the main tasks we have is that every time a checkpoint closes, we've got to look behind it and see are there any stragglers out there and make sure they're safe, right? So if we can see you that you're in Waverly, then that's pretty good. And Waverly's closing, well, we know where you're at. If you're disappeared off the map, we have no idea. So that's we end up texting and calling, and it takes a lot of volunteers, a lot of time to track people down if they just disappear. So highly preferred if you're tracking, it helps us out a lot from a volunteer point of view. It also helps the everyone watching the race, right? There's a huge amount of people out there watching this race on RaceOwl. We get, oh my goodness, last year was something like 10,000 hits a minute. It was a lot of web traffic watching this thing and just seeing how the race progresses. So they're watching you and they want to see where you're at. And there's nothing worse than someone way up front and you're like you're vying for the lead and well, but you're not tracking. It's like, oh, he's actually in lead. Well, he's not tracking, he's way back there. So anyway, it just makes for a much better viewing experience as well if you're showing people where you're at.
John, there was a question that came through the Q&A. I know you answered a question earlier. I don't think it was this one. Rose was just making sure. So is that text line through RaceOwl on the app? And I think what she's asking is like, if you're going to text in, do you do that through the app? And the answer is no. Um, there is a phone number that you will text into with those non-emergency questions that'll be on your safety card. Um, the check-in is through the app. You can do it through the text as well if you have to, but the best is through the app, as John was saying. Is there anything you want to add to that, John?
I think that's pretty fair.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
All good. Yeah. So if let me get my phone here. So yeah, the like texting is simply nothing more than just a normal text line, right? So you'd be here and then you just text in like with anything else with to that to the line, just normal texting. All right, back here. Let me see where we're at. Okay, so anyway, the RaceOwl website has your position. You can also see it through the apps, but let me just go here real quick to RaceOwl. So like right now on RaceOwl, there's four current races. Here's the 340. If you go here, you'll start seeing the roster with everyone in there, and then the race map itself. And what you're doing by tracking is you're showing everyone your position on the map. So, and as the race starts, you'll see all these little chevrons just march across the state of Missouri, and it makes things just easier to kind of see what's going on. But yeah, by tracking, you're putting yourself here, and you can be seen by others as well as the safety folk. Okay. Um, Tracking is also you got four options here, actually five. We do have Zoleo now. Zoleo is a Canadian tracker. I'm having troubles with them. They'll open it up to everyone, so that may or may not happen by the race. I don't think there's very many Zoleos out there. I have one. I kind of like them, but it's going to be hard to open it up to everyone by the race time. So there'll be at least one Zoleo in the race. And otherwise the N-reaches and the spots work as far as satellite trackers. And then you always have the app option as well to track. I do like the satellite trackers because they're fire and forget. I can turn them on and not worry about it. And so a lot of times what I like to do if I'm racing, I have a satellite tracker doing my position, and then as far as the app goes, I can turn it off, right? I'm tracking. I don't need to have it on all the time. I can just leave it off. And then at night, I'll bring it back on for navigation. But this ends up being, it saves the battery. It also keeps you from having cell phone data outages, et cetera, that are prone for the Androids and the iOSs.
And
But
John,
you don't need
oh,
to go. Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say you don't need a satellite tracker. They're a bit pricier, and so everyone has a cell phone, so you can easily track just with this and a battery pack. A little bit more on that later.
And you'll get into later how people set up their spot
Yes,
trackers.
we're actually almost there. So, yep. So satellite trackers. Again, if you go to the website, you'll see the various different options you have there. Do not wait. I gotta say, spot tends to be a little bit more confusing to people, but there are fairly in-depth walkthrough instructions on the website that will take you through exactly what to do as far as how to go get your spot tracker set up. I no longer have a spot, so I'm relying on other people to update me if these instructions get out of date. But I know we used these just earlier this year; they seem to be fine. But you can use this to walk through and set up the maps or set up the tracking options, etc., and then enter your information into RaceOwl. So see those PDFs. the basic idea is that you will go to, go back to my presentation. The basic idea is you'll enter this data into RaceOwl, which looks a lot like this. Crud. Let me go here. So on RaceOwl, you will go to, once you have the information from the spot or inReach, you go into Tools and it's Tracker Entry. And the key thing here is make sure you enter the right race. There's actually several races going on right now. Pick the right one. You don't want to end up, on the Tennessee River or in Toronto or anything like that. Pick the MR340. You need last four digits of one of your phones. Now, it can be any phone you've got. So if you're Dragon Team, well, any of those phones work. If you've got Ground Crew, that works as well. But last four digits of one of those numbers gets you in. You enter your racer number, whatever that might be, and then you enter your information. If it's a spot, it'll look something like this. This is the key thing I need for spots, this XML feed. The share page is optional but useful. That gives people an icon on the main results page they can go click on. And then for inReaches, I just need this KML data feed, right? That's what goes there. And then for Zolio, there's this item down here for the IMEI, whatever that means. Press update, and then RaceOwl come back success, and you go from there. Now, success does not mean you're actually tracking, right? You need to turn your tracker on, and then I highly recommend you get it on, let it sit for 20 minutes, make sure it sends a position, maybe ping the website, send a location up, and then you go back and just go on to the map page and make sure you show up like these folks have done. You'll see yourself show up on the web page, and that's a good indication that you're signed up, everything's working, and you've got it all working good. So using that feedback of seeing yourself is a good indication that you've got it going good. I'll also run some reports later on as we get closer that show what spots and inReaches are good and bad, and I'll end up posting that to Facebook usually. All right. Let me see, what else
John,
can we see
can
here?
I
Yeah,
um can I hop in with a couple questions that have popped up?
absolutely.
So Joseph is asking, he said that he had cell service issues last year, and I think a lot of people experience no service in the Glasgow area. Other people run into that in the Herman area. Um, is it best to check in and out with race volunteers in that situation? Like, what's the best solution to make
So
sure check-in happens?
generally, I will say it doesn't hurt, but you don't have to, right? So the like Glasgow, there's usually an hour's worth of black, just it's blacked out. There's nothing there. Um, in general, the trackers will save off their positions and then send it when it gets a chance. If you want to be absolutely sure, there's nothing, it doesn't hurt to have someone check you in and check you out manually. The tracker will catch up as soon as it gets a signal, and it'll send all information and we'll have it. And so that works well too. So I'll say it is optional to have someone check you in and check you out. Um, I'll say that's where I get most of my errors. Like people mess up, they check in the wrong person, they and do stuff like that. So I actually prefer you not to do that. And I would say just let yourself get a cell signal at some point downstream and let the tracker do its thing.
Did you already answer the question about Pro Paddler, John? And
I am not.
okay, so someone said they saw a post that the Pro Paddler app is no longer being updated and we should just use RaceOwl Racer. Is that
Yep.
correct?
That is true that the Pro Paddler is still available, but not updated. There's like 5 apps out there, and it gets hard to maintain them all because you would not believe the churn of like the Googles and the Apples on different requirements, and every year it's something different. So I can't keep maintaining all of them, and so Pro Paddler falls aside because it's older and the basis of it actually doesn't work anymore on new phones. So it's a total rewrite, or at least a big rewrite, or you move on to the replacement, which is the RaceOwl Racer, which has the same features.
And
So
then, oh,
if you
go ahead.
can't download it, just move on to RaceOwl Racer, same features, different app.
And actually more updated maps.
Yes,
And then last question in this little series. Only Garmin InReach units work with this tracking, correct? Not other Garmin navigation units.
that is correct. The Garmin has all sorts of nav units. It has to be an inReach. So like eTrax, no, won't work.
And then one other question that just popped in, I think is relevant to talk about now. Do we have to have a tracker app in addition to RaceOwl Racer?
No, you don't. So you can, nothing's stopping you. Like I've seen people do like Life 360, things like that. Um, and it actually doesn't hurt you too bad on the battery either if you have that. But if you do that, do not use that as only the thing you're using because that shuts us out. And so you've got to be able to publish your position to the race officials and not just to your ground crew. So it's fine to have as a backup, um, but you don't want to just have that only.
Those are great questions. We'll move on and I'll hold on to the next batch and get at you in a little bit, John.
All right, sounds good. I think we're about to the point where I want to have, let's see. Oh, we want to talk about this. Let me go back to slideshow. So these are common mistakes that people make when they're setting up their satellite trackers, right? Um, Garmin tends to be less mistakes. I'll say in general, I like the Garmin's better than the Spots, but the Spots work perfectly nice and they have some nice features. But anyway, people tend to set up passwords. Do not do that. We need it to be public, right? You're going to be public for those few days. You can always reinstate your passwords later, but I need those to be public feeds and no passwords. On the Garmin, there's also this tendency to this KML loader. That is not what I need. I need the raw KML data. This is what I need you to paste into raceowl.com. Oops. So that one right there. Um, I can sometimes guess if you mess up your Garmin. There's a couple different things they do. There's sometimes a US dash share, or there's just share. So they at least have a reduced set of what it could be. I will never ever guess your spot number, right? This thing right here. I will never guess this. This is something you've got to get right. And a common thing is like with this big thing, people try and type it in. Don't even try. You will get it wrong. I guarantee you that if you try and type this into the RaceOwl, you're going to get some zero mixed up with an O or vice versa. It won't be right. Just don't do it. Always copy and paste. Otherwise, I've actually, it's kind of a game sometimes. People get a typo, and I'm sitting there. It's like, okay, well, sometimes it's the O, sometimes it's a zero, and so I go through and I start tweaking it to try and find the right answer. I sometimes get it, so it's a little bit of a game, but it's rare that I do. So again, just copy and paste. It's better. Another thing with the spots is this list here you'll see on the website. You got to set them all. Don't try and pick and choose your way through here. I've seen people try and do that, and it's something eventually just doesn't work. And so make sure you've selected all these things. Don't try and cherry pick the permissions there. Okay. And then the feed being public is such a key thing. Um, right here, make it public. Otherwise, it's not going anyplace. Battery life on these devices tend to last the week, but the little Garmin Minis, not so much. So make sure you can charge those as much as anything. All right, moving on. Okay, so here I'd like to actually start switching over to the app. So if you haven't done it, please download that RaceOwl Racer, and we're going to walk through it and just make sure everyone's got it set up right. Um, So I'll give everyone a second to get that downloaded and pulled up if you haven't got it already. And if anyone needs me to walk through getting it out the store, let me know now. Actually, I'll just start that. How about we do that? I get my, oops, I just pressed the wrong button. Okie dokes. Let me pull up my Apple phone. I've got a, it's actually my phone. So sometimes I've got an emulator with the Android, but not with the Apple. Okay, so we got it. Yeah, okay. Okay, so everyone's seeing this. Um, were there any issues with getting off the store? Let me just ask that real quick and move on if not. Okay, no problems. I guess
John, it
just
looks like on your Pixel phone, we're not seeing the app if you were intending that we would see the
yeah,
app.
no, not yet. That's fine. But you see the phone though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we'll go to the app here in a second. Um, but like on the store, just make sure you search for um, RaceOwl Racer. And sometimes, okay, yeah. So on iOS, for whatever reason, it's one word. On Android, it's two. And you go grab that guy. Again, the purple app. Okay. So once we're to that point, then we're going to, let me pull up the emulation of this thing. All right. So you pull up your app. Dennis is on. There's his app right there, the virtual buoys. He can talk to you about that one. Oh, I keep clicking on the screen. Okay. So notice over here, the permissions the app asks you for, do not, don't, never ever don't allow, don't do only this time, do while using the app, and do precise. So you would need precise location and while using app, and that way it will work much, much better. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and enter your racer information. So go to registration. On the iOS, it's just right there. And underneath the Android, it's underneath this hamburger bar, or you can actually click and drag from the left side of the screen to the right, and it'll show up. And it basically takes you to registration. So it looks like this. So you're going to pick your race. I already had it picked on the Apple. I'll go ahead and pick it again. Again, pick the Missouri American Water 340. And then on the Android, same thing, Missouri American Water. Okay. Next, you're going to pick your division, right? So I'm setting this up for my son who's in the race. So he's a solo man paddler. Set him there. And then here as well, solo man paddler. Okay. You need your racer number, right? So that's going to be whatever is assigned to you, 1435 for Ryan. And you need the phone number. So that should be the phone that you've got in your hand. That's the one you want to enter there. That's so that I know what phone is sending this information and I can talk to it if something goes wrong. So please enter whatever phone you got. That's the one you got. It's purposely designed so it doesn't tie the phone to whatever you register with. You can use any phone you want, but you need to tell me the phone number to get to this thing. I'll just put a dummy in there right now. So race number, phone number. Um, first, last name, that's not really as important as just because I already have you in the because you're already in the roster. I don't really need that for right now, but you can go ahead and put your name in there, doesn't hurt, or an alias. And then a team name is useful even if you're solo. All right, that's what's going to show up on RaceOwl over your chevron. As of right now, it only shows like the first word. I'm probably going to change that before the race to just show the whole thing. Because if you notice from the website, there were a lot of things that looked like the and 50 and things like that. So I'll probably change the website so that it can actually show more than the first word. But anyway, enter a name that's for your team or yourself. And then everything else is pretty much optional. Um, if you want, one of the handy things out of this year was actually putting in your tracker information here. So that way, when you register, it automatically just goes rather than having to at every race go and enter on the RaceOwl. It just comes from your phone. So that's a handy new feature. Down here, you'll see this cap code and safe code. Don't worry about those. Those are official use only um, and not for you. All right, so that's it. That's you've set up your thing. You can hit register, and then RaceOwl should come back and say success. Notice it says it's register Ryan Marble because I already have you in the list. You're already in the roster, and this is just verifying. Yep, you're the person you think you are. So we'll register and go from there. Oh, I keep doing that. Anyway, I keep pressing. This is my phone. I've got to touch, not the screen. So that's okay. Okay. So
And John,
if everyone's done. Hmm?
if I could jump in here real quick, I just want to mention that right now, um, registrations are not synchronized with RaceOwl. That it's going to start happening in the next couple of days, but there may be a few days here where if you're registering, that you may not already be in the system if you recently registered for the race.
Yep. Okay. Next thing is we're going to practice doing the check-in, check-out. So if you go find your menu, go check in, check out. It should look something like this. And now I'm towards St. Louis, so it picks Klondike as my closest checkpoint. This is an emulation, so it actually thinks I'm in San Francisco, so it picks Cow Point as my closest one. I'm just going to enter a checkpoint, and you got down here check in, check out, or DNF. DNF, hopefully you don't need to do that, but it's available for when you do that. You come here, you press this button, and it will allow you to DNF. When you DNF, you always pick the checkpoint after you. So if you were heading to Glasgow, you would pick Glasgow even if you weren't there, and then DNF at that point. So whatever one you're going to is where you DNF at.
And to clarify for newbies, DNF means did not finish. So
Right.
you're going to do that when if you decide that your race is done and you're pulling out of the race, you absolutely need to um, let us know through the app or a text.
Yep. Yeah, that's extremely important because otherwise we won't know, and that's a huge cause of headaches for when we're trying to close a checkpoint and someone's DNF'd, but they didn't tell us. You know, we're tracking it down, and for some reason people don't always answer their phone, so it's sometimes hard. Okay, so you get to a checkpoint, you enter your racer number, which should already have transferred over because you set it up on the setup screen. And then right here, you'll see this number just keep on inching up like 7:44 p.m. It'll change every time and just hit check in or check out. If you forgot, you can always adjust your time by dragging this little bar back. I can't do it on that screen. Got to do it here. You can go back and it's like a half hour or so. You'll see that time change. So I'll actually do it. I'll just go and check in. Doesn't hurt. And yep. And notice that this is one of the things I added just because people kept checking the wrong checkpoints. I'm not actually there. So please make sure you're there, or at least you know what you're doing. I'm going to say yes. It'll send it. The race hasn't started, so it should reject me. Yep. So Event hasn't started yet. Try again in 456 hours. So there you go. We got that long till the real race. So it rejects it, says no way. Um, if you want to look at what you did, there's always this log you can go to, and you can go there and you'll see everything you've sent in as far as these checkpoints go. Okay. Again, if you are tracking, you don't need to do any of this. The only thing you're going to use this for is DNF, and that's it. Otherwise, it's all good. You don't need to do it. Okay. I'll pause there for any questions.
Okay, John, we do have a few questions.
Hmm.
Um, okay, Deanna is asking only one racer. I'm assuming she means if it's a tandem team or
Yeah.
larger boat, only one racer needs to register for raceowl.com, and we are supposed to do that during this webinar. Is that correct?
No. So when you get to call point, the first thing you're going to do, we're going to check in and make sure you've got it right. This is like pre-practice. We're not doing it during this webinar. This is just practice, so you know how to do it. And you are correct. Only one person needs to do it at that time. One person in the boat. Now, I would recommend that everyone in the boat have this app. Doesn't hurt. Everyone should download it just to have it, just in case someone else's phone dies, whatever. Just download it. Doesn't hurt. Hopefully
And
that makes
then
sense.
if there's a boat with five people in it or 17 or whatever the case may be, and multiple people have satellite tracking devices, John,
Mhm.
is it okay for multiple people to register those devices, or do you prefer only one per boat?
It's set up to allow one device, well, one type of device. So if I handle four different types of devices, actually five, right? I've got iOS, Android, we've got inReach, Spot, and the Zolio thing, right? So you can actually register all five of those and be pinging them. I'd prefer you not. It just adds noise. So consider it as a lot of people will do two trackers just to have a backup. So it's like a live backup. So you lose cell phone, well, you got it. The Spot or the inReach dies, guess what? They die too, right? You've got some backup. So a lot of people will run two. I would definitely not recommend running any more than two. It's just extra noise and it makes your data kind of jump around. So two at the max, um, and have a lot of backups if you want.
So Steve just mentioned that he originally had an issue trying to open the app. He couldn't click on anything, so he deleted it and re-downloaded it. I assume that it worked after that. Let us know if not. Bernie is currently registered for the Merrimack Marathon through RaceOwl. Does he need to wait to register for the MR340, or can he
No,
be registered for multiple races at the same
he
time?
can do multiple races. Just Bernie, remember to change your race because you've got to go here, and you're registering for whatever one you have selected. But you can do them all at once if you want. Make sure when you show up to the Merrimack on Saturday, you pick that one. You go back to the Merrimack.
So Deanna said that it actually let her check in and said acknowledged. Um, and Deanna, I
To
don't
the
know
340.
if you
I
were checked in for a different race, if that was the
hmm
340. If there's any more information you have about that, let us know.
There are multiple races, and I wouldn't doubt we just picked the wrong race.
And so, one last question. Rose asked, do I need to go to the raceowl.com website to set up a satellite tracker, or can I set it up on Racer? She asked that question before you mentioned there's this new option to do it through Racer, the app.
Hmm.
Do you have anything else to
Um,
add about that, John?
so I'll have to check that because the interesting thing is because we have the roster already pre-registered, I'm not sure the website's going to let you do it on the app. I'll have to check and make sure it will. Technically, I think you should be able to, so I'll verify that, but it could be that tonight, until I can check that, it might not let you. So I'll say yes, you should be able to do it through the app, and that it might be delayed because I can't remember if I set it up to do it.
So Deanna, by the way, is the one who said that it actually let her check in and said acknowledged. And she said she's running MR340 2025. So,
Which checkpoint?
Deanna, let us know which checkpoint that is. And then Kathy said, Deanna said that was call point.
Okay, it does allow Ka Point because Ka Point check-in is allowed anytime before the race. It won't allow you to do anything else.
Okay, cool. Well, that's good to know. Couple other questions. Kathy says, I'm getting an unable to register at this time notification. She says, I'm also showing two icons. I'm not exactly sure what she means by that, but um, what do you think about that,
Showing.
John? Any suggestions?
So that sounds like an Android. And because sometimes Android has two services that it shows, especially if it's an older version of Android. So you most likely have a slightly older Android, and it's showing your app. And when you register, let me see. So, oops, I just registered for a marathon. Okay, I didn't mean to do that. It's okay. Um, Unable to register could be it just got rejected. That why I would try it again and see if that works, and make sure you've got the right information.
And she's also saying that she has two RaceOwl Racer icons. So I'm not sure if that means
I
she has two
that
different
that
versions.
sounds like something funny is going on there. I would delete at least. I would probably start over just to re-download. If you've
Yeah.
got two RaceOwl Racer icons, that sounds like a really old version maybe. But I don't know if you've done this before or not. But having two shouldn't even be allowed, right? It's going to download one and be done.
So Kathy, you're going to want to uninstall both of those and just try reinstalling that app.
Yep.
Um, okay, so Joseph brings up something good. I know that you're going to get to navigation here in a second. So um, I'm going to ask the question and know that we're going to get to this in more details. Someone else also mentioned that they had two icons. So if you're seeing two RaceOwl Racer icons, app icons on your phone, probably the best solution is to uninstall those and reinstall a fresh app. Um,
If they show up here, that's not wrong. If they show like where is that? If I see it on my desktop like this, that's wrong. But if it's up in this little toolbar, that's not wrong. That's just the way the Android works.
okay. Well, that might be what they're saying. I'm not
Okay. If
sure.
that's the case, that's fine. That's those are two services. One's a voice service and one is a location service.
Okay, and then Joseph is saying, does purchasing and running the RaceOwl add-on, the navigation add-on, potentially interfere with the app tracking a racer's progress due to the phone doing too much at once?
No, it does not.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions we have right now, John, so gonna let you roll on for a while.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. Um, Other features here you're going to want to be aware of is the splits in ETA. Well, okay, let's go here to tracking status. So here is where you will see, if you are tracking or not. So if you get close to the river, then it's designed. If it's time to race, as in the race has started or close to starting, then you'll see tracking status and you'll see this stopped. Right? You're not tracking. It'll turn on as soon as you get close to the river. Or you can do this and just ping location, and it will send a location just wherever you're at, and you can force it to go. That's a good test just to make sure you show up on the map, but it's not absolutely necessary. Again, it'll start when you get close to the river. It'll keep on tracking while you're near the river, and if you want to kill it, then you got to actually exit the app. I had too many instances of people, they brought the app up and they just forgot to press the start button. So we don't do that. All right. Splits in ETA, that's important um, to know because this is where you'll find like, you know, did you check in, right? This is actually what's on the website as well. So it gives you a history of every place you've checked in. It doesn't matter where you checked in or someone else did. It gives you the history of you, and did you check in and check out? If you notice this here, this is a whole lot of checkpoints, right? That's interesting. These are like access points, things like that that are good for going down the river. You can turn that off if you just want to see checkpoints. You can see it like so. So it'll show you like these are all like the paddle stops versus every place. And you can see here ins and outs as you go down the river. It'll automatically populate that if you're tracking, or if someone checks you in manually, it'll show up there as well. If it's estimated, that's when it's estimated you will be there. Otherwise, it'll show it as just in and out. Okay. There's that. Let me see what else we've got. That's probably about it, except for the register, the tracking, or actually the navigation.
So
Uh,
John,
so yeah,
one more question related to this. Dana is asking, she says she has a yellow banner along the top of the tracking page
yep,
that says error, race, phone, number, GPS, okay?
yeah. So that just means if you go here, you probably have zeros here. That means your GPS isn't turned on, or you're not anywhere where you have a satellite. So it's basically saying, did you enter your stuff right? Did you enter a number? Did you enter a phone number? Did you pick the right race? And do you have a GPS location? Right. So all those things roll up into that error saying something's not right with what you've given me. Please go check it.
So she said that she hit the ping button and it went away. So, but if your phone GPS is not turned on, you need to go into your phone settings and make sure that location is enabled.
Yeah.
Is that
It
correct?
kind of comes down to when you first take those permissions, a lot of people just you automatically turn it off and you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that's turned on. So you need to have your location turned on and you need your cell data turned on. Those are the two requirements.
Awesome. Thank you, John.
Okay. Um, I think, okay, we need to talk about phone care real quick. Um, People make lots of mistakes when it comes down to, phones are kind of fragile sometimes. And so you need to be careful with them and take good care because they will overheat. I have donated several to the river gods. Don't do it, right? You can get it through, um, but just be careful. I would not take your $1,000 iPhone out there. I would take the burner phone. Use that. You don't want to care too much if you kill it because you will. So at some point, if you keep doing this for a long time, it's going to die at some point. You're going to drop it in. You're going to let the white magic smoke out of the box. It's going to go bad. It's going to just blow up on you. So just don't take your expensive phone. If you've got to, it's fine. Just make sure you take care of it. Things that people mess up, right? I dare you to give a phone to a digital native like a Gen Zer and say, don't exit the app. They just can't help themselves. They just hit exit all the time. Don't exit it. It can't track unless you've got the app on. So when you pull this thing up, just make sure you don't exit the thing. So like where'd my phone go to? So like if I'm here, I don't want to double home exit that if you're an iOS or hit the back button on the Android, it will kill the app and you've stopped tracking. So just keep in the background. Um, it is okay to run with the screen off. In fact, that's the way you should do it. You should turn that screen off. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll come here to like the like tracking, and I'll ping just to make sure things are working, and I just send it home and turn the screen off, right? And that way I'm saving my battery and I've left it in a good state. Everything's happy. I can put it in my dry bag and be done, put it on a charger, be done, and just let it be. Don't touch it. That's pretty handy to do. Um, just check it every so often. I would say anytime you get it out to like text someone or talk, just make sure the app's still running. It doesn't hurt anything. You can always send a ping. It doesn't hurt. Ground crew tracking. All right, these things are really easy, and some people's strategy is actually to give a phone to their ground crew and take another one just because they have a spare, it's a fully charged. If you do that, make sure you turn it off because so many times I have tracked your ground crew across the state of Missouri. I don't really want to know where they're staying. I don't want to really want to see where they're going. I don't care about the ground crew as much as I do you. So please make sure your ground crew isn't tracking. They'll get a nasty gram from me, and then I'll end up having to block their phone. And if they turn it back to you, then all of a sudden it no longer works, and you won't be very happy. So beware of ground crew tracking. Overheating, I think it might be a thing this year. We're heading for some hot weather. So phones do not like to be hot. Keep the phone in the shade. Don't put it in the direct sunlight. It will die. It'll cook the battery and things won't go well. You won't be able to charge. Um, don't let it overheat. That means keep it in the shade. The hull of your boat, is a great place for it, right? So you can put it down there in that hole and it's right next to the nice cool 80-degree water and it's out of the sun. That's not a bad place. Water damage. Oh my goodness. Yeah. If you, a lot of people use the transformer chargers. Those work pretty well as long as you can keep the phone centered on it. A lot of times though they shift and they stop charging. Otherwise, using the charging port. If you got a newer one, a lot of them are very waterproof. The older ones definitely are not. I tend to like to only charge at night and in an electronics box that is waterproof. And so I tend to run these things where I stick the thing in my pocket in the daytime, out of the sun. Don't use the screen. Just keep it in my pocket and be happy. If I'm getting anything, I'm using the voice feedback to tell me where I'm at, and that's more than enough, especially during the daytime. At night, I want my screen, so I pull it out. I put it in an electronics box with a charger, and I hook it up and let it charge overnight, and then I'm good. All right. I think that's enough on that. Let me see here. There's kind of what some of these boxes look like. A little baggy in your PFD works well. Okay, battery drain. You should know what this is. Not all phones are created equal at all, right? I've got some phones that will last the whole week, and others that die like 5 hours from now. So know your phone because you don't want to find out, oh, I've got a bad battery the day of the race. That's bad. So there are certain phones that are prone to this. I'll say I've got an iPhone like a mini. Those batteries don't last long, and so it dies pretty quickly. Androids tend to have a better life. Some of the newer iPhones last a lot longer. But anyway, just know your phone. You're going to want to. I tend to recommend people just run it for a while, go on a training run, turn it on, and see what your drain rate. So kind of record where you're at the start of the race or the training run, go a few hours, see where you're at, and then figure out how fast are you draining, right? How many percent of your battery goes away per hour, and that kind of tells you how good you're going to be. You want things to be less than 7% per hour. That's going to last you the whole day, and you can then charge at night. This is data from 2023, all the racers. And you can see down here, the zero, these are people that just keep it on a charger the whole time. They don't take it off. These are like your really good phones that are like doing like 2% an hour. That's going to last you forever. And you got the whole range of that between that and then the disaster phones that are way up here just dying immediately. Do not be in this disaster zone. You want to get a different phone for sure because that's too much. Um, Again, under 7% per hour gets you pretty much the whole day. You charge at night, everything's good. Your screen is what takes up most of your rate. If you turn that screen on during the day, it's got to turn the brightness up and it's going to just drain that battery in no time at all. So I highly recommend be very careful with that screen during the day. A lot of people make little shade boxes and then they do it that way. Some people try solar panels. There's lots of different ways to do it. I feel like it's too complex. Just put it in your pocket for the day and be done. All right. Let me see. This was just talking about, charging bricks. Um, I think you really need at least a 20K milliamp hour charging brick. Those are fairly small, but they would last you, even if your phone is misbehaving, it'll last you pretty much the whole race. Especially if you've got like a ground crew, get a couple of them and then just swap it out and let them charge it up as they change you. Um, A 40K one, that's a huge brick. It will definitely last you the week and more, but it's really heavy. But if you're solo and you got no support, I would probably go that high. It doesn't hurt to have more than one because again, water kills, and you might fry it. Solar panels, again, some of them work, some don't. You tend to get muddy water on it, and it just kind of starts degrading on you. But anyway, some might work. I haven't heard of any that really work well though. All right. Don't know. Been kind of doing
So
that. Okay.
John,
At this point, I'm done with like the basics of it, and we can talk about, navigation and stuff. All right. Any
can we go?
questions, I guess, Steve?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. Um, so back to the registered phone number. There's kind of a couple questions embedded in here that you'll have to deal with here, John, but I'm just going to read it off. Do I absolutely have to list the phone that is with me on the boat for all of this to work? I'm assuming he's talking about when registering that RaceOwl Racer app. The reason being is I would prefer that all in-race messages, barges, etc., go through my ground crew and let them message me if needed. So can I list my ground crew phone number instead of mine?
No, you cannot. That will it will not allow you to. You're gonna. It's going to show up on my screen. If you were totally, what it does is it removes my option to know who you are and to talk to you before I shut you down. So say your phone starts misbehaving and I've got the phone tracking across the country and I've got to now shut you down. I get a message on RaceOwl saying there's a misbehaving phone out there, and I usually give you a courtesy call saying I'm going to shut you down. Please fix whatever it is going on. If you don't give me that number, I've got no way of getting a hold of you. All I can do is kill it, and you won't be happy then. So I
Great
need that. I
answer,
need that
John.
phone number.
Okay, so use the phone when registering the app, use the phone number of the phone that you are installing the app on.
Yep,
Um, Dave is wondering if he's using InReach for tracking. I don't need to have the cell phone tracking. Is that correct?
that is correct. If you got inReach, you can turn off your phone, put it away, don't think about it.
And it will automatically check you in and out of checkpoints.
Yes.
Um, cool. I think that's all I got right now. Yes.
Okay, easy. Okay, let's go back to navigation then. So these are the add-ons, and there are different apps out there that do this. Uh, Dennis Smith has his virtual buoys thing, and my other phone just died on me, so I'll have to bring that back up. Okay, so this is again just it's an add-on you can get if you don't. It's kind of a minimal amount of money, but it just helps keep the servers going. Um, but you get through it through the add-ons on the Android, or where'd my app go? Or on this one, if you don't have it purchased, then it will pop up a purchase screen on the Apple. So I'm not on the river, so it's hard to kind of show this, but you get to it by just the navigation screen, right? So you go here, you got navigation. You go here, you got navigation, and then it'll look something like this if you're away from the river. It's basically saying, hey, you're not close to the river. I'm not going to show you anything. So the best way to do it if you're not on river is to just go to and turn on your simulation. So it's got various different settings you can do. And I'm just going to turn on this emulation simulation. All right, and back. All right,
John,
and so yeah,
one more time on the iPhone to purchase the add-on, you basically click on navigation in the
yep,
menu And then
Yep,
it'll give you the option to purchase. Okay, thank you.
correct. Yep. And so then you've got the navigation assistant here, which will show you a reduced map of the river. What you're seeing here is the red line is the navigation line. The green lines are what I call warning tracks. They're I believe about 90 feet apart. So 90 feet this way, 90 feet that way, and you see, the cyan is really it's the river. So this particular one, I'm going to update it. I haven't quite gotten the update yet for the data, but it'll update with the absolute newest stuff from Army Corps. But what this is actually showing here is shallowness. So anytime you see a cyan line, it's either a wing dam or it's where things are starting to get shallow on you. So you're going to want to stay for the channel, right? You're going to be on that red line. You don't have to be right on the red line. So many people think I could be right on it. No, no, the river is wide. That channel is not an exact point on that map. Just be somewhere within it. I would say stay within the green lines. You're going to be fine. Um, it's an important thing. Otherwise, everyone just follows the red line. It's like it gets really kind of crowded there, but that's okay. Um, the one of the key things is that's also where the barges are going to go. They're going to be on that red line. So if you see a barge coming, be off the red line, away from that. That's where they're going. You don't want to be there. Okay. So that's sometimes you want to be there. If a barge is coming, you want to be as far away from that as you can. All right. Um, this gives you a bunch of different data. So like over here, this on the iPhone, you get to it by basically settings. Then you can pick what you want for displays. Speed, average speed, your battery, that's kind of important, or river mile, whatever you want. You can see that on the screen. On the Android, you just pick it and you go down and see what you want to do. I tend to like Crosstrack. That's telling me how far I am from the center of the channel. And so Crosstrack is like I might be 100 foot off. That's if it's positive, you're going to be off channel to the right. If you're negative, you're going to be off channel to the left. So it's just when you turn on voice feedback, it's going to speak out these four things to you. And so if I go here to settings and I say enable voice feedback, I don't think you'll hear it, but it'll talk to me every in minutes, like every 11 minutes, every 4 minutes. If you really want to be annoyed, set it to like every 30 seconds. It'll talk to you the whole way down the river. But this gives you a nice status as far as where you're at, how far off channel you are, etc. And that helps a lot as far as just not having to look at the screen. All right, so back here then, these items here, I tend to like to put in like river mile. That's always useful. Battery's useful. Average speed is good. And I sometimes like to know how far it is to the next checkpoint. So I'll tend to pick like time to the next checkpoint, etc. These are all sorts of choices here as far as things you might want to have it tell you. It's up to you what you want. Okay. That's kind of the basics of it. Um, this is interesting here, this high contrast mode. If you're trying to look at it during the daytime, you can turn that on and it will turn it to a easier to see screen. So it shows up in the day at that point.
John, Dave is asking if you are using the most current Corps of Engineers map for the channel center.
Yes. Well, I'll say I will be. So Steve sent me the current data. I will have that data in there soon. Okay. Any questions? Again, it's more useful if you actually get out on the river and try it out. It's just doing simulation mode is not going to do it justice. I will say on the Android, it does have this other extra feature the iOS doesn't. You see this is red. If this turns green, you're tracking. If it's red, you're not tracking. So that's just a handy indicator.
Well, I love this navigation feature. Whether I'm in the MR 340 or just in life out on the river, it's extremely helpful. I love it.
I would love to get feedback on this one right here, the show other racers, right? This is going to show everyone around you. And I don't know if people have used that or not. I haven't had a chance to get out and use it except once, and it wasn't terribly great. But anyway, it'd be interesting to see if people like that or not.
Deanna is also asking, is this correct? The cross track stat is how far you are from the center of the channel or the
Correct.
channel line, basically.
Hmm.
And again, that's just a line supplied by the Corps of Engineers. The actual real channel in the river is pretty wide and it's a little variable. Jim is asking if you're running navigation and get an incoming call or text, does that kill the nav screen? If so, does the screen come back automatically?
That's just normal phone operation, right? So it usually will pull up whatever is the app that's in the foreground, and then once you exit it, you're still running. It doesn't kill it. It might not be in the foreground, so you might want to bring it back up to the foreground so you can see it if you're trying to look at the screen. Otherwise, it should have no effect on if it's background.
Cool. Thanks, John.
Okay, that is about all I can think of to brain dump here. So again, practice with it. That is a huge thing. Um, Make sure you understand your battery life, and you'll be fine.
Well, John, thank you so much. This app continues to get easier to use and have really helpful features for racers and people at home, ground crews, everyone. So we appreciate all the work that you've been putting into the app. And I should say that most of John's work is volunteer work. We really appreciate what you do for this race, John.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you guys for tuning in tonight. And I will be posting this on the Missouri River Relief YouTube channel. We have a MR340 playlist. It'll end up there, and I'll start linking to it from the RaceOwl, the race tracking page on the MR340 website. Um, yeah, that was super helpful, John. Thank you so much. And people are chatting their gratitude. So we'll go ahead and cut this off. Um, well, I guess maybe we'll just hang out for a couple minutes in case any other questions pop up, and then we'll shut it down for the night. I think I'll wait until 8:20, see if any more questions pop up.
Sounds
So we got
good.
2 more minutes. Steve, I was asking
Last
if there's last minute support available at Caw Point. Um,
So yes and no, right? So we're there to help you check in, and we will help you as we can. There's always a mad rush of people at Call Point having various different issues, everything from, help me with this app to help me get my spot tracker registered, etc. So I would definitely prefer it if you've got questions, talk to me earlier. Um, and try not to do it at a call point. But yes, there is service, there is some help there. It's just we're busy enough that it'll be hard to get too much time there.
and I do want to clarify that John's talking about Monday at race check-in. As far as like race, the morning of the race, people are, the volunteers and staff are pretty busy engaging with the race. At this point, we don't have a specific RaceOwl volunteer helping Tuesday morning. That might change. Because I could see how that could be helpful because people do have that sort of last minute, like morning of, I can't get this thing to go. But still ask around, look for race staff and volunteers. There's a few more questions.
Yeah, Kathy has a good one there. So she says she went and got the thing and then saw the navigation thing, but didn't see this map. Um, the map here is it's actually on the iOS. I there's a funny thing with these maps, right? They cost money, right? So these APIs are not cheap, and every time we load it up, it's ching ching ching. And so like last month, I it was like $200 of map use, and so anyway, it's kind of just being disabled because it just sucks me dry. So anyway, I do have the map available for the spectator, but from a point of view of the racer, I'm disabling those.
And that'll be disabled during the race as well.
The map, yes, unless I do have one hopeful way of getting this so it doesn't ching every time you do something with the map. But if I can't get that in, it's we're really getting too late for that. So I don't see myself getting that done.
Okay, and Dana asked this question earlier, and I think I missed it. Should the location be, so when you're setting up the app, should it be while using or always?
While using is sufficient.
Thank you. Okay, I think we've given everyone enough time to throw in their questions. So, um, thanks, John. Really appreciate you, and thanks to all of you who have been tuning in. Share
Yeah,
this,
thank you.
if you think it's helpful, share it with your teammates, share it with your ground crews. Once we get it all posted on YouTube, it'll be ready for anyone to watch. You guys have a great night. Look forward to seeing you on the river. I guess I should mention, now that I'm thinking about it, there is going to be one more webinar that John is doing that's geared towards ground crews. So that is Tuesday, July 1st, also at 7 p.m. Um, you can find the link to sign up for that Zoom webinar in the news and updates section of the mr340.org website. We'll be sharing that on the Facebook group as well. But that is called RaceOwl for ground crews, and honestly, really for spectators and volunteers too. But that's Tuesday, July 1st at 7 p.m. Good night, everybody. Thank you.